Welcome to Zana Vibes, with the story that will transport you back in the time to a world of honor, pride, wisdom and martial arts mastery. Hit that subscribe button for more captivating content. Today we enter a tale of the invincible master and the clever kung fu challenger.
In the distant mountains of Japan, there exists a dojo unlike any other. It sits, quiet and proud, surrounded by the towering peaks and the whisper of wind through ancient trees. Within this sacred space, tradition runs deep as the earth beneath it. Here, the art of Kenjutsu has been passed down through generations, and one name stands above all others, Takeda Hiroshi. Takeda was not just a master. He was a legend. His skill with the katana was said to be unmatched, his reflexes sharp as the very blade he wielded. He had faced many opponents, and none had managed to defeat him. His every move, a perfect execution of centuries-old techniques, left his students in awe. But in his heart, a whisper of pride echoed louder each day. Takeda believed he was invincible. Yet, even in this place of peace, where the air seemed to hum with serenity, the winds of change were stirring. For beyond these mountains, in lands where the sun rose from the east, a challenge was on its way, a challenger who would test not only Takeda's skill, but his very belief in invincibility. One cold morning, as Takeda stood in the dojo, a figure appeared at the gates. Silent, calm, and with an aura of quiet confidence. His name was Li Wei, Master Li Wei of the Southern Shaolin Temple, a kung fu master whose reputation had traveled far, from the vast plains of China to the distant corners of the world. Li Wei was not like other challengers. He was not here for fame or glory. He was here to teach Takeda a lesson that could only be learned in the heat of battle. At 45 years old, he was a master of his craft, but his philosophy was different. He believed that true mastery came not from power, but from balance, adaptability, and wisdom. As Li Wei entered the dojo, his movements were smooth, almost fluid. The stillness around him, the way he carried himself, was as if he were part of the very air, his energy synchronized with the wind, with the earth. And in that moment, Takeda felt it, a shift in the atmosphere. A challenge, not just to his strength, but to his entire way of thinking. The stage was set. Takeda, with his katana drawn, faced Li Wei, his stance firm and unyielding. His eyes locked onto his opponent with the focus of a predator. Li Wei, in contrast, was calm, poised, his arms relaxed at his sides, his gaze steady but gentle. The contrast between them was striking. One was built on years of power and tradition. The other, on a foundation of fluidity and instinct. Takeda's first move was swift, he lunged forward, his katana aimed at Li Wei with the precision of a strike from a snake. But Li Wei, he saw it coming. In the blink of an eye, he stepped aside, his body moving like water, flowing just out of reach. Takeda's sword sliced only the air. Takeda's pride flared. He swung again, this time faster, his blade a blur of steel. But again, Li Wei was gone, his movement graceful and almost imperceptible. Thank you for being at Zana Vibes. Don't forget to subscribe and share as we dive into captivating story that transports you back in the time to a world of honor, pride, wisdom and martial arts mastery. It was as if Takeda's attacks were being swallowed by the very space they occupied. This wasn't a battle of power, it was a battle of minds. And then, in a moment of unexpected brilliance, Li Wei made his move. With a swift twist of his body, he deflected Takeda's blade with his open palm. The katana flew from Takeda's grip, landing with a soft thud on the floor. The dojo, silent but for the sound of Takeda's ragged breath, now held its collective gasp. Takeda, who had never been bested in battle, stood disarmed, his eyes wide, not with fear, but with disbelief. A moment of pure shock. How had it happened? How could someone so agile, so unassuming, have disarmed him so easily? Li Wei stood, as calm as ever, his hands relaxed at his sides. His expression was one of quiet confidence, not arrogance, but the understanding that the true path to mastery was not through strength alone. As the battle continued, it became clear that this was no longer just a contest of physical skill. Takeda's anger began to flare. Each attack, more forceful than the last. But Li Wei, he remained calm, his movements calculated, always one step ahead. Takeda's strikes were powerful, but they were rooted in pride, and pride could be his undoing. Takeda realized something then. His attacks, fueled by pride, were no longer effective. Li Wei was not fighting the same battle. He was playing a different game altogether. A game of patience, of understanding, of adaptability. Takeda's strength, his invincibility, was slipping away, replaced by doubt. And in the final moments, as Takeda charged forward one last time, his katana aimed to strike, Li Wei moved once more, not to evade, but to engage with wisdom. A quick flick of his wrist, a sudden twist, and Takeda's sword fell once again. Takeda, breathless and defeated, sank to his knees. It wasn't the physical strain that broke him, it was the realization that strength alone could never defeat the mind. That adaptability, humility, and wisdom were the true markers of a master. In that moment, the greatest lesson was learned not by Li Wei, but by Takeda. As Takeda bowed to Li Wei, something deep within him shifted. He understood now, true mastery was not about invincibility. It was about growth, about the ability to evolve, to learn from every fight, from every defeat. Two warriors, both masters in their own right, stood in the dojo that day not as adversaries, but as equals. And in the silence that followed, a bond was formed, built not on victory or defeat, but on mutual respect. This is the story of Takeda Hiroshi, a master who believed in his invincibility. But more importantly, it's the story of Li Wei, who taught him that mastery is not in the sword, nor in the strength, but in the wisdom to know when to strike and when to yield. Thank you for watching Zana Vibes. Don't forget to like and hit the subscribe button. Your support is appreciated.